One of the big challenges in dealing with wild animals is that the protocols in use at all these institutions are designed for domesticated species in a laboratory. They don't ask the very basic questions that are first and foremost when you work with wildlife, like how do you get the animals? You can't order these animals. In fact, for many of these wild species, if you find someone that's willing to sell them to you, that person is a felon. You cannot legally sell these animals. So the first question is, how do you obtain your animals? That's not addressed in the Guide for the Care and Use of Laboratory Animals, for example. But that's not surprising. It's the Guide for the Care and Use of Laboratory Animals, not wild animals. It is not addressed anywhere else except the taxon guidelines. So we decided that what we needed to do was kind of overhaul the whole protocol scheme and develop a protocol that is very specific to wildlife, that asks the right questions that an IACUC should ask if they're going to do a credible review of a wildlife protocol. So we start off by asking, how are you going to obtain these animals? We ask, what permits do you need to obtain these animals? That's another difference. You don't have to have permits to work with each species. In biomedical research, they're domesticated. You do have to have permits when it comes to virtually any species of wildlife. We ask questions, if an investigator is going to go out and capture these animals, usually they might capture other animals as well. So that's a whole other topic, non-target animals. So you've got target animals, you've got non-target animals. Non-target animals in biomedical research means that you walked into the wrong lab. Non-target animals in wildlife research means that you're setting a trap and you're hoping to work with, let's say, you're intending to work with grasshopper mice, but you're setting this trap in the Southwest and you capture grasshopper mice. You also capture kangaroo rats of various species, Paragnathus. You may capture Neotoma, whatever. Those are non-target species. We address other questions like how you assign a USDA pain or distress category to the work. If you're working with wild animals, very commonly the animals need to be sedated, not because you're inducing pain or distress, simply because you can't handle them otherwise. If you're working with a bobcat, try to do that without sedating that animal. I have worked with raccoons, and one of the tasks was to age these animals using tooth wear and also to ear tag them. You can't do that with an animal that's not sedated. So you're using these pharmaceuticals to sedate them, and many IACUCs say, oh, if you're using pharmaceuticals, it's automatically category D, which is pain or distress relieved by analgesics or anesthetics. You're not relieving pain or distress. You're simply using it as a way to handle the animal. Many wild species are captured using pharmaceuticals. For example, if you dart deer, you may be using carfentanil to capture the animal. Again, it's not to relieve pain or distress. It's how you capture the animal. So that's addressed in the protocol. We touch on considerations of the natural population. Now, IACUCs typically are not in a good situation to evaluate the effect on the population, but the organizations that issue the permits to work with those animals are. So what we say is that we encourage IACUCs to use those permits as an additional assurance that any impact that there may be on the natural population is negligible or is warranted. We discuss what's going to happen with the animals at the end. Many times it may not be wise to put animals that have been in captivity back in the wild. Sometimes study designs require that. Sometimes permits require that. So we touch on the types of considerations that need to be made if you're going to release animals. So it's a protocol that's very specific to wildlife. And when we put this thing together, we very deliberately posted it in Word, not in a protected format, because we encourage IACUCs to take it, to modify it to suit their situation. If they only need parts of it, they want to adapt it into their existing protocol, fine, go for it. We're putting it up there as a resource.